I am very excited to be here with Christian and Tim of L1011. Guys, thank you so much for being with us here at the historic Roxy Theater. Kind of your hometown. You guys are from Silver Lake, so pretty close here. You're basically like playing for the home team tonight.
Yeah, I actually moved to San Diego 6 years ago, or whatever. But that's where you did your homework, and you were correct. The band was formed, in Silver Lake. Although I guess you never actually lived in Silver Lake, did you?
Never lived in Silver Lake.
I did though. Okay. So it's accurate. I don't know. That's probably what Wikipedia says. It's pretty accurate. That's where we started playing. And
that's how we do all of our research, is Wikipedia. And sometimes I'm wrong. Well, guys, I want to start things off by saying, and I don't say this often, we interview a lot of big name bands who I admire, and we only interview artists that I personally admire. We don't just interview people just to get web hits or something. It's from the heart. It's part of our passion. But I had the pleasure of seeing you guys about a year ago or so. I don't remember exactly. One of the last shows in our hometown of San Luis Obispo up the coast. I think I ran into both you guys at McCarthy's Bar afterwards. Everybody's celebrating a little bit, and and I was that goofy guy that was like, "Hey, would you guys be interested in doing an interview sometime?" And it was clearly not. It was clearly yes. And I didn't want to do TMZ style, so Christian, you're drunk. Tell me your deepest, darkest.
Yeah,
didn't do any of that.
Out of the tour, you're not filming me tonight.
Yeah. And there were a lot of fans around. You guys were feeling it, so I didn't want to. But it's not every day that I try to hit up a band, after their show when they're hanging out at a local bar. And the reason being that I was just absolutely blown away by you guys. I was a little familiar with your studio work, but had never seen you live and had never really watched any videos of you guys perform. And I went to that show, again, one of the last shows at the historic Slow Brew, and I was absolutely blown away. And I was like, this band is so unique and so just musically amazing. And so since that time, I've been a big fan, and I've been stalking you. And tonight, the restraining order was dropped, and I was able to come 50 yards. So thank you guys so much for having your lawyer just take care of that nonsense.
That's right. Now just stay calm, though. I see that pen in your pocket. I'm going to be watching. It looks really pokey.
So anyways, just wanted to get that out of the way, guys. I'm very, very much a big fan of you guys. And so getting into some of your latest works, Mixtape 001, the latest thing that you guys have put out there, not necessarily a full studio album. I mean, available by signing up on your website through digital download. But tell us a little bit about that latest project, I guess.
So over the years, there's been a lot of stuff that we've recorded that didn't end up making it on records. In fact, the last proper studio album we did, I think we recorded something like 13 songs for that record. But
Fast forward.
Yeah, well done, sir. But it was just too long. We cut it down to 9 songs, and even that I think maybe is too long. I think from here on out we might do EPs, because who listens to full albums anymore? I don't. Yeah. But anyway, but we had these songs. We actually thought they were good songs, and we wanted people to hear them. And we have all this stuff laying around from over the years, and thought, why don't we just put it out and just download it? We won't press records or whatever. We won't hire a publicist and all that stuff. But just put it out, and have our fans, because we think it's pretty good stuff. Yeah. So. Yeah. We wanted the world to hear it, so we have more too. So this is gonna be a regular thing.
So we'll have Mixtape 002, 003, all the way up to 999 someday, right?
Presumably, if we keep going. We've been going a long time, so there's no reason to think we won't.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, Tim, how about you, man? Mixtape, the beginning of putting your material out there. I know you guys have done some crowdsource stuff to print or repress vinyl and things like that, but what's it like to just kind of put it out there, so to speak, for free, in essence, in this case?
I thought it was a great idea. And when we started kind of putting it together, it's like, I forgot about that song. It's so good. Which I never do with our stuff, kind of, because you're always in it.
How many years does this material go back? I mean, was it kind of was it nostalgic to look back to some of these songs that you?
I mean, even stuff that we recorded for Fast Forward was nostalgic to listen to, because it wouldn't have been playing it live, and it just kind of got dropped off the set or the song list or whatever. I don't know. What's the oldest song on that?
I was just thinking when he asked that question, I was thinking, is it maybe Disorder? The Disorder cover? Or
Probably. Swoon was pretty old.
2000.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's like it is kind of like a little bit of like, I remember when we did that. We were, probably in the middle of doing a record or a tour or something. But some of those, the ones that weren't just dropped off a record like Disorder. We just kind of did because we've been playing it. But yeah, it was cool. Like, I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we put it out. I'm glad people can get it for free. And we're playing some of the stuff tonight, so it's cool. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, there you go. Again, for fans out there already know about it, but if you're new to L1011, go to the website, enter your email address, I think it is, and then you get a download link, and voila, it's as easy as that. Guys, I think in other interviews people have asked you about this, but I kind of want to go a little deeper on this one. You guys, I guess, got hooked up creatively, let's say, back in 2002-ish, I guess, around that time. And how did you guys meet? I mean, were you friends from high school? Were you college buddies?
No.
What?
Yeah, it was either way. It's funny you mentioned high school because I was here in LA and I walked into a coffee shop and saw an old acquaintance from high school, and hadn't seen him since high school, and we were catching up. He said, "I'm starting a band." He was a guitar player. I said, "Perfect, I'm looking for a band." He explained what the influences were, and I thought, God, that sounds really good. Turns out Tim was the drummer. There were actually two drummers. There was an acoustic drummer, and then Tim was playing electronic drums, and me on bass. And it never took off. We never even played a show.
Yeah.
We just were rehearsing it, and that was around the time I knew I wanted to start L1011. I was looking for people to start that, and I loved his electronic drum playing because no one else was doing that at the time.
Christian, when you started, I mean, sorry to cut you off, but just being a two-piece band, I mean, originally were you looking for a full band experience, a three-piece, four-piece, or did you envision it as sort of a dyad at that time?
Dyad, that's a good word. I did think, I figured we would probably be a trio. And then when we got together for the first time, Tim said, "Hey, have you ever heard of a looping pedal?" And I hadn't. But I borrowed one from a friend, and then we had a band practice, and our eyes lit up, and we're like, "Whoa, maybe we could do this just the two of us. How freaking cool would that be?" And then we were on a mission to make it just the two of us, because for a variety of reasons, we thought that would be better, and we were right.
Yeah. Well, being a dyad, a twosome versus a threesome, so to speak. I mean, that dynamic. It's there aren't that many. There's some great two-piece bands out there. Quasi, some people like the White Stripes. Different bands, and it's so raw and but your sound is so full with the assistance of the pedals and the looping and stuff. How do you think the band would have been different, Tim, if you guys had a third member through the years? I mean, would you still not be around to this day? Would there have been drama? Would there have been triangulation?
Is this third person a singer?
That is a
that would change everything. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Like, I haven't really thought about that too much. It would make the math harder than just dividing things in half or just doubling something or whatever. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I don't know. We've been messing with singers actually, and we played a song with Henry on this tour, and it's kind of cool. I don't know, it would change the dynamic. It would be something totally different. So it never happened. So this is, I think, what it is. But it's kind of cool to play with somebody else with him, whether it's a singer or just another musician. But I don't know. I'm sure we wouldn't be here right now if we had somebody else probably.
I want to ask about your influences. Kind of a generic question, but more specifically, what was the very first album that you ever purchased? It could have been a CD, could have been a tape, and it could very well, in many cases, be an embarrassing thing to mention.
I think the first one I ever bought was like when you would tape the penny and send it into Columbia House, and you would get records back.
Get those 12 free things.
I got 7 records, and I know one was a double Who live record.
Okay, nice.
There might have been a Sammy Hagar record. Voice of America, I think.
I Can't Drive 655.
I think it might have been out or something.
Right.
Does that sound right, or is that what? It might have been different. Full Tilt, I remember. Remember the K-Tel records?
Yeah.
I had one called Full Tilt, and that was one of the ones I first remember like playing over and over again, and it had like a Pete Townsend song, Blondie, bunch of stuff up, like yeah.
Okay.
But that's the first ones that I remember like just listening to that weren't my parents or something like that.
Yeah, not Christopher Cross or Captain and Tennille. Yeah, Elton John. There you go. Yeah. So we and I most of the people that did the Columbia House or BMG Music did that trick where they got the stuff, and because they were minors, they knew the loophole, which was that they couldn't be held legally liable. So they never had to buy those 2 records for $20. Yeah. So a lot of teenagers of our generation, I think, knew those loopholes and got a lot of free albums. So
I wish I would have known that one.
Yeah. Well, how about you, man? First album that you
I'm
can
trying to
remember
remember.
purchasing.
So I remember my first album was the soundtrack to Star Wars, but it was given to me.
Okay.
It was, I think my parents got it for me.
There's a distinction too when we talk to artists about what the first gift was, and then which was the first album that you actually saved up your, lawn mowing money or your
Well, I remember
babysitting money to.
The first record I bought was actually a 45,
Oh, okay.
and it was "Rock with You" by Michael Jackson.
Ah, nice.
So that was the first record. I mean, it was a record, but it was the first 7-inch. But full album, it might have been Billy Squires' "Don't Say No."
Did that have "Stroke Me" on it?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I
We're gonna hear that tonight. You guys are covering that tonight, right? The instrumental part of it.
wait, man.
Damn, world premiere here. Okay. On mixtape 002, it's gonna be nothing but Billy Squire.
That's
All.
an interesting concept.
Hey, you can have that.
It's a great record. I still like that record, non-ironically. I really do. The playing on it's great.
It's classic stuff.
It is.
Well, looking back at kind of those early influences, and then around the time of, let's say, the 21st century, 2000, 2001, when you guys were kind of really getting focused as musicians yourselves, I always kind of have this idea when I hear you talk. A lot of people use different terms: post rock, math rock, all that stuff, and you guys have kind of talked about how those labels, they don't really apply, but you're not necessarily offended by people projecting their own labels to describe your very unique music, because it's kind of hard to define categorically. But I can imagine you guys around 2000, 2001 listening to, Tortoise, Godspeed, Black Emperor, things like that. I mean, is that what you guys were rocking, 15 years ago before you started the band?
It's hard to remember. I was never a huge Godspeed fan. I mean, I thought they were cool. I did like Tortoise a lot.
Yeah.
I think I was into Sigur Rós back then, maybe.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think at that time what I was listening to. But
I was just thinking of bands that don't have, vocals on them, and kind of that is a unique. That was not a thing that you were really.
I wasn't, like trying to find inspiration from that stuff either. Being like, yeah, this is like, do it like this. We should do it like these guys. I mean, it would be more like 80s references or something like that usually.
True. And I don't mean to sound. I guess by asking that, I'm kind of implying that your creative work is derivative of other things, and I wasn't meaning to imply that. But I just kind of,
actually a proper assumption to make. But really, when we approach our songs, generally speaking, we really think of them more as pop songs. Like if you listen, I mean, most of our songs have a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus and a bridge, and there's no vocals. But I've always thought of when I'm writing. I mean, generally speaking, there's exceptions, but I've always thought I want to write stuff that's catchy. Like I think about it's because I mostly listen to music that has vocals. That I'm mostly listening to pop kind of stuff. So I mean, I don't mean pop like Katy Perry or whatever, but like Billy Squire. But so I don't those long drawn out.
kind of those masturbatory thing. Yeah, because there's a tightness to what you guys do. I mean,
Yeah, it's not improvised at all. It's all very composed. And it's more. I kind of almost feel like our music is more like dance music, or so, at least live.
Well,
But
it's a good point, because when I saw you guys at Slow Brew, I was certainly tapping my toes, so to speak, and I saw people dancing, and it wasn't, in looking at you guys on stage, I wouldn't say, wow, this is a band that's going to make people want to dance. I mean, just the, no offense, but just kind of I was thinking, okay, indie rock, this is going to be like Built to Spill. Yeah, a double neck, exactly. You don't see, but there was definitely a danceability, which I think is sorely missing in a lot of music today. What do you think, Tim, in terms of are you proud to wear that badge of being a band that kind of inspires people to move?
Yeah, I mean, it's like some of our stuff is not danceable on records and stuff like that. So, but we kind of choose to not really play a lot of that stuff live just to keep the energy there. And I mean, we try to have, it's not all the whole time, but like I think it's
No bullhorns. I didn't. No Skrillex remixes on this one.
Not this time.
Okay.
But it's not a bad idea.
Guys, well, through the years, I mean, as a two-piece, you haven't really had a lot of other people necessarily grace the stage in a literal sense, but you've certainly performed alongside so many other artists, festivals, things like that. When you look back over your career, do you have any positive memories of other artists that you've graced the stage with, that you've toured with, things like that? Anybody come to mind? All right.
yeah, you'll like this one. It's Peter Hook.
Oh, yes.
Because he was my idol.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was a teenager, I would lower my bass and play it in the mirror, pretending I was him instead. And then we ended up playing. We played with him here actually, and we ended up becoming friends with. I mean, he's not. I don't call him up and say, "What are you doing tonight?" or anything. But we are friends with his son, who plays bass also, and we do hang out with him.
And he just played here in L.A. like last week. I had a friend that saw him. Yeah,
At the Wiltern. And so he was my big idol, and we met him, and it turned out he loved our band. He actually went out of his way to tell us how much he liked us, which that was the best compliment I've ever had in my
He's
life.
like a guitar, well, and a vocalist too, but really, like, it's like Johnny Marr. He's like a guitar god. I mean, really, a bass god. Excuse me, but wow.
Yeah, he was my guy when I was, or one of my top 3 guys, and to have him like us, and we've played with him 8 times now or something. We opened for them in Manchester with their hometown show. It was sold out, 2,600 people or something. So for me, that's definitely like if the band broke up today for some reason, that trophy up on the mantle would be really important to me. It really felt good, and that's the one that's like easily comes to mind for me. I don't know if you have one that's.
So that was you picked. That was a fish in the barrel one. Pretty easy to go with. Tim, I'm going to ask you a harder question. What about pick another artist other than the legendary Peter Hook?
That was a cool experience to. Actually, it's just there's so many bands that we've had on tour with that I'm still friends with people from those bands, like good friends or whatever. So to me, it's like just being, I don't know, just like those. I've had some great friendships from people that we've had out on tour with us and been on stage with, so to speak, or whatever. So I don't know. I would say that's mine. Just like friendships you've made along the way. Because I don't think there's not one like, oh fuck that time I played.
So it's hard to
Peter Hook was cool and his band was awesome and but
that's a good answer. It's hard to quantify, and qualitatively, every experience is similar and unique at the same time, and so we don't want to pigeonhole all those fabulous people, and put them in a box up on the shelf or anything like that. But very good, very good. All right, cool. Well, guys, another question that I have for you is, being that you've released so many great albums in so many formats. We talked about digital downloads. I know a couple years ago you guys did some crowdsourcing to press some of your early stuff on vinyl. As musicians, do you have any preferences as it relates to the format in which your music is put out into the world?
No. I mean, personally, just as a listener of music, I only really use Spotify. I have a record player. I have a bunch of vinyl, but it's just so convenient. I mean, the entire history of recorded music is in my little phone. It's just so easy. I mean, every once in a while I put the vinyl on and it's cool, but I don't know.
Well, as a musician, interesting point, because Spotify, as you said, is kind of the way that many people access music nowadays. But there's controversies about the royalties, the compensation rate. Yeah, we recently interviewed Peter Case where he talked about compensating artists, kind of the controversies on that. But you guys feel that things like Spotify, Apple Music are a pretty fair way to compensate yourselves for the music that you put out?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I've had 7 record deals, not with Elton, but a couple major record deals, 5 indies. I never made money like this, like I am now. I mean, the Spotify, the individual royalty that you get for one spin it's like 0.0028 of a penny or something like that. But if a lot of people are playing you'll make money. I make money quarterly on it, and I think it's fair. I mean, it's just going to get better and better as more and more people just start using that. I mean, it eviscerated piracy. It just killed it. So, and that's exactly what we want. We want people paying $8 a month or whatever. And it's genius. It's great. And now we're able in this day and age to put out records ourselves. We don't have to have a record deal. I mean, we won't be able to come up with the marketing that a record company would be able to come up with. That's always going to be expensive. But I mean, we're doing this full time, playing shows. People are coming out. We did it all ourselves, and that would not have been possible 20 years ago or whatever.
That's a great point. It's almost like the ultimate DIY way of kind of getting around big label support and being able to put your vision out there. Tim, what do you think about all that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't like it's. What am I going to do to change it? So I don't even think about that stuff. Honestly, like whatever. I don't know how much we get for a Spotify spin. I have no idea. I like the convenience of playing it. If artists are getting screwed over, there's enough people out there in this business that bitch about that. It'll take care of it. It's not my.
We've heard a lot of that sentiment in the interviews we've done. So it's
somebody that's bigger and bitchier than me to take care of things like that. That people are getting
Someone
screwed.
to testify in front of Congress. They're not going to call you up to do it.
Well, that's a good point, though. I mean, you probably are getting more exposure than you would through traditional means. And, there's YouTube and things like that, but through a legitimate source. It is a good way to...
We, a few years ago now, I guess, it was, I don't know why, but after every show, people would come up to me and were obsessed with telling me how they found out about us. I don't know why that was a thing. Became funny because they were always saying Pandora, 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 Pandora. We're getting that over and over. We would joke about it in the van. We're like, hey, where do you want to eat? I know. How about Pandora? Because people were saying it so much.
And was it because Pandora, being that it's more of a random mixtape style? So were you more interested in what was the main station that turned you on to us, and what were some of those bands that were associated with you guys?
The best. I mean, we got the typical ones that you would think, like Explosions in the Sky.
Band of Horses.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. And then one guy told me, he was like, I was on a Joe Walsh station. I'm like, what?
Frank Zappa? That's
Yeah.
Makes sense to the musician.
Well, in a way, that's kind of complimentary, right? Yeah. That the fancy algorithms that are up there, whatever, in the cloud, somehow associate you guys on some level with these other artists. That's kind of a cool thing, right?
But all that to say that you were talking about exposure, and that was really big for us. I mean, when we started, Pandora is very kind to us. They still, you know, every quarter I see how many plays we get, and it's millions and millions of plays. So they're putting us in, and that really, when that started happening, along with other things, but that was a big ingredient, I think, when attendance at our shows started going up and up and up. Like it really, that exposure was phenomenal for us. So it's not just the royalty rate that you have to consider; it's also the exposure.
And the volume, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I guess kind of a personal question. This isn't a question I've been meaning to ask artists for some time, and I've just never met such nice, obliging guys who are so receptive to all my crazy questions. So I'm going to ask it because I've always wondered, like, as musicians who you put yourselves out there in front of audiences day in, day out, do you ever get like anxious? You know, do you ever have panic attacks? Do you ever get there's certain not full panic attacks, but what is
anxiety is a huge part of my daily routine.
Okay. And it's motivating, right? For a lot of it isn't. Oh, okay.
Well, in fact, it's interesting because I hurt my back really badly on the last tour. I've been going through all kinds of physical therapy, and I just started reading this book that it's called Healing Back Pain, the mindfulness, something I can't remember. Anyway,
mindfulness meditation kind of thing,
something like that. And so the guy's point, and it sounds ridiculous, but he said your back's fine. It's your subconscious. It's your subconscious dealing with anxiety and or anger. That's why you think your back hurts. And he went into all this details about it, and it actually started making sense. And as I was reading it, my back stopped hurting. And I'm like, God, I really got to deal with this anxiety.
So you have a powerful mind. It's like a Jedi mind trick or something, right?
You want to finish this interview now?
I do. Yeah. I'm not offended by that at all. I know you guys are. That was good, though. That is good.
But to answer your question, yeah, I have a lot of anxiety. I think it's a combination of I'm trying to support a family from this, and then when we play big shows, you know, like tonight, I don't really feel nervous about tonight. I'll be a little anxious right before we go on, but like we played Red Rocks on this tour, and I was really nervous before that one. My stomach was like
the crowd. Like if you know it's going to be a big crowd, that's what adds to the pressure, or is it other factors?
It's both. That was that was 9,000 people, but it was also a bunch of my family were there, and that was the number one venue I've always wanted to play. And on top of that, it was when I was growing up and learning how to play. I had the U2 at Red Rocks VHS tape that I would watch over and over and play along with.
I'm glad you didn't say John Tesh at Red Rocks. It was U2 at Red Rocks. That's a good one. I have that John Tesh CD at home. I'm embarrassed to admit. But
manly of you to admit it.
Well, but yeah, right. In terms of your ultimate dream, boom, there you were, and so it makes sense that there was some anxiety there.
Oh yeah, I was so freaking nervous. Yeah. You were a little nervous too.
I was nervous for Red Rocks. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because like. Barely get a sound check. You kind of don't really get to settle in.
That's right, because it's a festival scene, so you have to jump on there.
Yeah. So yeah, but usually like I'm just like freaking exhausted. Okay. It seems like, and it's just like, oh my God, my arms weigh 100 pounds. I don't want to have to go down and play for 90 minutes right now. Yeah. But it's you get out there and then you sweat a little bit and then it's fun. But yeah, beforehand I'll be like just certain shows. Yeah, if there's family there, something like that you get a little anxious about things. And plus just going on, I don't know, just as soon as it's like, all right, 2 minutes. All right, so I guess I'm supposed to be nervous right now. This sucks. Okay.
I hate that's the worst.
Do you guys ever do the huddle thing? Like the we mentioned there was a certain unnamed we don't touch you. There was a certain unnamed band that we won't reference earlier. Lars Ulrich. But and their tour documentary, where they have a therapist and they're all kind of like doing like trust falls to get in the zone. You guys don't do like a huddle or prayer or anything before you go on stage. Yeah.
I think if you had your camera in here 5 minutes before we went on, you would see Tim on his drum pad just warming up and me just pacing back and forth because it's too late to do anything else. I can't work on something on my.
At that point, it's just you gotta go with
There's
it.
still 5 minutes to go, so I'm like, oh God, I wish we just start already. And then we kind of hear the crowd go, woo! We're like, all right, they turned off the lights. Well,
They start chanting L10, 11, L10. Not so much during encore though, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, well, I put a kibosh on that because we don't do encores, but
That's right. You didn't. That was kind of unique.
that's our thing.
Yeah.
It's a.
But we don't sit up here while people are like, "Woo, come back out!" And we're like,
You're like,
he's
"Should
like,
we
"No,
come
we
back
don't do
down out
encores,
there?"
so we're gonna play two more songs."
Like that.
Yes.
I make an announcement every night so everybody's clear because if you've never seen us before and we walk off the stage and people are cheering and then they just turn the lights on, a lot of people be like, well, why didn't they come out? We were cheering. But that whole ritual, I think, is phony baloney, and I hate it. So I usually say towards the end of the set, okay, just so you know, we don't do that whole encore thing. We're just going to, I don't even know if we deserve an encore, but we're just going to play till we finished all the songs, and then we'll just stop.
That's cool.
And everybody, I think every night when I say that, people cheer. Because they're like, yeah,
It's
cool.
refreshing. There's no pretentiousness. You guys are defying convention, so to speak, and very cool, very
I
cool.
also don't like to sit in a sweaty wet shirt for 5 minutes, like waiting to go back out. Like,
Yeah.
just get it over with. Let's
Maybe
wrap
put-
this up.
Yeah, put some closure on it. Want to get a chance real quick to plug your tour. You guys are doing quite a tour, East Coast, etc. Tell us about some of the stops, and you don't have to mention all of them because that might be too much. We can put them up on screen, but you're excited to be going back to the East Coast, huh?
Oh yeah, we love playing New York. We love playing Boston. We love playing DC, Chicago. I mean, yeah, there's a few new venues that we haven't played, but some of our old favorites too, like the Sinclair in Boston and the Lincoln Hall in Chicago and the Orange Pill in Asheville. So it should be
Asheville
great.
has a real interesting kind of progressive like culture and scene there from what I've
Yeah,
heard.
we've only been there once, but it's great.
Yeah, Tim, how about you, man? East Coast, you looking forward to the tour?
Yeah, we're playing a bunch of new stuff. I'm not just that part of the tour will probably stay the same set wise or whatever. But yeah, I think we're doing like 2 or 3 new songs. Some stuff off the mixtape, some old stuff, some new stuff, rework some old stuff, maybe a medley. Could have some Billy Squire in there, but yeah. So it's yeah. I always love going back east, and we haven't been to some of these places in a little while, so it'll be nice. We have a 3-week break, and then we're back at it after we've one more show of this leg of the tour in San Diego. So yeah.
All right. Well, guys, it was a real pleasure. And like I said, I highly encourage people out there to check out this band. They are one of the most unique, amazing, sort of newer contemporary bands, as I would classify it, out there. So highly encourage you check these guys out on their tour. And thanks again, guys, for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.